It's just a long lost look in your eyes, brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Or don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, into the light we go, into the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, into the light we go.
We're back, guys. Years later, we have aged, but we finally have made it to the second matchup of the night. Will be Kingzone DragonX up against the Roosters. BBQ Olivers looking for a repeat victory over the #1 seeded team.
We were called into action a little bit early. If you were on the LPL stream, things weren't going so good for Rumble, so we had to censor that one. Marin did fine, guys. Don't worry about it. No multi-twitch. I'm sure Marin hard carried on the Rumble as we move into, like you say, a Kingzone match. But for once, it's about a bit of revenge for Kingzone as BBQ upset them in the first round robin.
The power of the chicken was too strong. Also, the breathing issues from Khan. Rascal had to come in a couple of times. Didn't really work out all the way into game 3, but hopefully no more issues come because certain members have been, suspended for a while. And
yeah, it's been officially announced that Rascal is being excluded from the starting squad from Kingzone by Kingzone, not a Riot ruling, a Kingzone ruling, so only Khan means we get more Khan.
That we do. So let's introduce our teams right away.
킹존 드래곤엑스와 BBQ 올리버스의 경기. 현재 단 2패만을 떠하는 킹존 드래곤엑스에게 1패를 안겨준 BBQ 올리버스. 이 두 팀이 오늘 다시 만납니다. 부동의 1위, 가장 유력한 결승 직행팀. 하지만 그들에게도 가슴 아픈 기억은 남아있습니다. BBQ 올리버스에게 당한 불의의 일격을 오늘 씻어내야 합니다. 킹존 드래곤엑스!
That was a very extended intro. I assume she was plugging chicken.
It's lengthy. Well, you know, it was for Kingzone after all, somehow, some way. But when you're on top of the world in first place, you deserved a lengthy introduction, and certainly at 11-2 and plus 18, they're going to say, not this time, BBQ. One of the only teams they've lost to. If you guys do remember, the other team was KSB. In the first match of all of LCK Spring, when Khan wasn't allowed to play and Rascal had to play 2 games, they actually got 0-2'd that time around.
So if you put 2 and 2 together, they have never lost a full series that Khan participated in. He has lost 2 single games all season, and now he is their only top laner. If there's any issues, I guess Cuz has to be a top laner. Given their current roster situation, Peanut will be starting in the jungle as expected. Last time we saw Kingzone, they rampaged and pillaged SK Telecom T1. The Olaf in particular, legendary from Peanut at 16 minutes.
That guy was pretty good on the pick, but let's introduce their opponents tonight, looking for the repeat win.
1라운드에서 보여준 승리를 향한 그들의 집념이 되살아난다면 오늘 킹존을 위협하는 가장 무서운 팀이 될 수 있습니다. BBQ 올리버스!
We welcome back BBQ into the studio. I had my fill of chicken. Papa just watched, unfortunately.
That's right. I am only a chicken voyeur now because unfortunately no free chicken for me on a diet. BBQ too delicious
Feels
for
bad,
Papa.
man.
BBQ greater than Papa confirmed. And the question is, this is a revenge match. Two teams have bested the Kingzone DragonX hype train. It is the same roster, so Trick is back in the roster. It was about playing around bottom side. If they can get Ghost and Ignar fed again, who knows what's possible, Valdez?
I would say pretty much any team in the LCK is able to overcome any other team. Kongdu is trying to prove me wrong, but BBQ certainly have taken down big members such as Kingzone, as we continue mentioning. Also taken out Jin-Air, and Jin-Air twice, actually, in Kongdu Monster. So not the biggest names outside of Kingzone, but looking to repeat that tonight. I love the posters here. Wanted Dead or Alive is crazy. I think that doesn't really look too much like him. I'm not sure what you think about that, Papa.
I also feel out of context, it sounds like they want him dead or alive and that he's confirmed crazy rather than it being his name. Given how things go, crazy's an ID, so it makes us wanted post a little bit. Stranger, Ghost on your screen. Did pop off in their last series against the team of Kingzone, but it wasn't Khan the entire time. Who can take down Khan is the question. There's been plenty of challengers, but victors, oh boy, that's hard.
There are not a lot of them. Unexpected defeat as Kingzone continues to ravage the entire LCK lineup outside of BBQ. We mentioned this many times, and that's pretty much the only story. I mean, they lost the game to Afrika. It really proves that Afrika is quite good right now.
Kingzone are so good, Valdez. They're a fantastic team. They show us new stuff every time they play. We were in love with the flex pick Sion. They were able to get the maximum out of, and now that is a very common pick around the world. And when Kingzone can do it, everyone else will try to copy it. But can you do it better than Kingzone? The answer frequently be no. Such a talented squad in terms of players, loving their preparation. When it comes to BBQ, I don't know if this quite holds because they did lose 2 in a row, so they don't have the win-lose-win thing going on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for them, they are right down the bottom. They're in the relegation spots right now. They don't win, they will be 2 series behind in terms of match played. They really want to join some of the other teams at 5 and now 6 match wins for Jin-Air and SKT.
It's hard to imagine that BBQ lost twice to MVP, both of those being 0-2 victories. But as MVP slowly gets stronger over the course of this year, it becomes more believable. But to have that Kingzone victory in the middle is quite interesting. Tough schedules, but we have to win to get away from that promotion. They're sitting in 9th place. That's not where they want to be.
So they're 4-9, and they play Kingzone, SKT, KT, Afrika, and Kongdu. A victory over Kongdu? Perhaps. The rest of them, SKT, their best hope to pick up a match win. KT on an off day, anything's possible. But they need to find wins somewhere. Their game score is getting worse, and a 1-match win from there will only join the likes of MVP. When it comes to 5-match wins, and MVP have an easier schedule because it's hard to get harder than the schedule BBQ have. So the run-in is tricky for them. Can they upset on their day? The first round-robin victory over Khan says yes. As we jump over to Khan, Smeb may have had some great moments, but if you look at the entire season, it's been all about Khan.
I don't think anybody can really argue with this at this point. You mentioned other top laners, but currently he is the best top laner in LCK and most likely the world. We'll see him on the world stage eventually once again, but currently in LCK, all the stats belong to him outside of goal difference per 10, I suppose, which I don't know if you have any insights as to why perhaps that might be second instead of first, but he's pretty good in everything else.
Maybe a couple of laning phases where he's been set behind, so it's only an at 15 stat. As you go on, I'm sure he ends up being the most gold as the game ends because the team wins, and that means your gold difference is always going to look really nice. As this is the EU ward, is how SpoTV have used to describe Ignar. I don't know if that's an insult. I think we're talking about his warding strategies.
No,
1.78, so highest in supports.
I was watching, I forget what I was watching, but they were interviewing him, actually. Remember when he put the ward in the base and the Zoe TP'd in and actually got the backdoor win?
Yes.
he said that's an EU ward, basically, that kind of ward.
They
so
probably don't appreciate the double meaning when it comes to Bjergsen and his
ward.
4 wards
Yeah.
being an insult. So this is probably supposed to be glass half full.
Probably went over the heads of the Spo TV production, I would have to say, Papa, but he certainly does ward a lot, as you guys can see here, including some fantastic wards with some backdoor potential. So definitely Ignar has been having some success. But let's take a look at the 80 carries. Prey has been popping off near the top in terms of KDA, and Ghost definitely going up against one of the best.
Now, it was through bot lane that they won their first series. Largely it was Trick chain ganking bot lane rather than the 2v2 going the way as Prey and Gorilla are about as reliable as ever. But we will be watching bot side because they won through Ghost in spite of the matchup. It is a mismatch. It's Ghost, a relatively new 80 carry that is promising but hasn't taken the next step against one of the greatest of all time on Prey. Very, very tricky, but as seems to be the way, and basically every time Kingzone play, you look at the enemy team and say, how can you have better players than Kingzone? They've got almost all of the best players, and that is the tricky part you have to deal with when you encounter Kingzone.
It's kind of funny because you think about perhaps who would they replace if they really wanted to, and then it's very hard to do. I know you definitely see FLICKR as #1 mid in the world, so maybe that would be the one, but do you really replace BDD? I don't think so. Peanut fanboys and fangirls in the audience rooting for KZ. Let's jump into pick and ban for game number 1. Here we go, Kingzone on the blue side, gonna go ahead and take away more of Ignar's engaging supports. Definitely a win condition for them in the pick and ban phase.
His Alistair's been sneaking through though, so maybe that one will be left open. Looking into this game, again looking at the last time, which was the 2-1 victory for BBQ, was a lot about the good news bot lane for BBQ. The game 3, you forget about that series, was BDD's Orianna. That has definitely been left to the wayside after his struggles with the shockwaves in that series. Zooming in on this one, though, and we see a Skarner ban going towards Trick. That was the champion they used to chain gank bot lane. So one less tool available for Trick.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, it's really the little things when you get down to it. Kingzone obviously have some of the best, most mechanically and strategically skilled players in the game, but sometimes it's the little things. They do their research, and I suppose the research this time around has led them to taking away Peanut's Olaf.
Really strange ban, because there's no 80 carries pinched in this pool, so usually you would consider there not to be one to reach for. It could be a 1-for-1 trade for power 80 carries. So what do they want at first pick, if not the Olaf? That seems like the obvious choice. With Olaf banned, Varus value goes up because he's immobile and can be preyed upon by the Olaf, but much more safe when the Varus is available. The Varus will be taken away. Okay, Kingzone DragonX. Let's see what your priority is on. A lot available. Cinderhawk jungler of choice for Peanut traditionally is the Sejuani.
Yeah, it looks like we'll be sticking with tradition tonight as we do lock that in. Haven't seen first pick Sejuanis too often nowadays.
But Olaf and Skarner being taken means that the pool is a little bit more shallow. We'll see if Zac is the choice from Trick. It's been a very common response. BBQ fans here.
Dragons are just dragons, but chickens are chicken gods. I don't really know what that means, but that's what the sign said. I'm just here to translate. We are going to have the Braum locked in here right away, and Tristana left available. Definitely one of the best 80 carries we do have in the game currently.
It usually prompts either Caitlyn for lane control or something a little bit different from the side of Kingzone. They can go Ezreal, Alistair, and play around it, but look at Kingzone. They seem to have a pre-planned strategy as there's Prey checking the power level. His famous taunt that he has always used.
What's with the blood on his lip? I don't understand that point.
He's feeling bloodthirsty against BBQ, I guess. Wants to eat some BBQ chicken.
He's biting his lips.
We would love to see some Kog'Maw, but it's going to be the Caitlyn, going to go for the lane power. They want to overwhelm in the 2v2. They won't invest into their support early, though, so we'll take some support bans. Maybe something frisky from Gorilla, who's to know. And the Azir will be taken. BDD's Azir, always a highlight. Rise available. But it seems like BDD is one of the few mid laners in Korea who will take Azir over Rise whenever presented the opportunity.
certainly is part of the reason why he does get more consistent. But Tempt, he's going to play his hand at the Talia, it looks like, still hovering that down to the last second. And he switches it, actually, right at the last second to the Syndra.
And he's attacking the lane. 2-0 on the Syndra, which has been heavily deprioritized in the 2018 season. I believe first Syndra was seeing on patch 8.4, though I may be mistaken. See if Archangels is the choice to have a defensive option or the Ludens for even more burst.
Yeah, I think we saw that over in one of the other regions. For some reason, it's sticking out in my mind, but not in LCK. I don't think so.
And this usually provokes a ganking mid lane jungler, so maybe something old school, blast from the past, like a Rek'Sai, for example, to try to go for the guaranteed engage. We'll wait and see what the consideration is. They are going to ban away one counter jungler, and Trix Kha'Zix in their last series against KSV was a big highlight. Game 1, which they're so close to winning, was able to do so much work shutting down Cuvée in the top lane and in setting up the Galio ultimates, but they ultimately did end up losing that game. So taking away some junglers here, and Khan having his Camille banned away because BBQ is saying, hey, we're going to counter pick for top lane, so we don't want to have a safe blind pick available. And the Jace, which is his most played and undefeated on the 2018 season at 5-0, sadly will not be on the Rift, at least for Game 1.
Perhaps if they find some success with this in Game 1, they might think about letting it go through and testing the waters, maybe taking a bit of a risk. But you mentioned junglers, another one comes through. That's the Zac you were saying earlier on for Trix. So does he also want to drop in kind of a weird pick up against Kingzone to catch them off guard? They're hovering the Jax for now. We'll see if they lock that one in.
Now, Jax is one of the best junglers at ganking mid lane, and I mentioned the Rek'Sai before. Jax makes a lot of sense because he can go for the Leap Strike to a ward flash combination to set up a Syndra all-in. They will hold their horses and last pick for jungle, which does lend credence to the idea of it being something really out of left field. Prey is...
I love the drawings today.
I know.
Prey.
Loving the Prey drawings. Prey was voted the center of the LCK, meaning that he is the person synonymous with the LCK. And when Fake is around, that is a big compliment from the Korean fans.
That fan, she bought a ticket for the 11 p.m. bus. A lot of people are expecting Kingzone to crush BBQ tonight in a quick 2-0.
In context,
if it goes to game 2, or 3 rather, she's probably not going to make that bus, Papa.
For context, it is 8:07 p.m. local time. So given that it is 8:07, there is plenty of time for that victory if it ends up being the 2-0 like you say. It was going to be just the Gangplank from Khan, one of the few scaling choices he's opted into multiple times. Won't be attacking the lane, he's looking to farm up, but they can play around the Caitlyn push and have the ultimate there as Gorilla brings back an old favorite, going for Janna, which is very, very risky against the Syndra. Trick playing with our hearts. For now, hovering another Predator jungler. Now Trick's going to show, Ignor's going to show all of Trick's old favorites.
And then he's going to switch to Volibear and lock it in.
We have not had a Volibear in Korea. I ask the junglers about it all the time. Are they going to lock in this Ivern? They are not.
Oh.
It's going to be Jarvan.
Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You're going up against Kingzone. You want to try your best. You're not going to try new things against this team unless it's something that you've practiced a lot. And given that 8.4 is relatively new, not going to be bringing any weird picks in. Outside of the Syndra is the big one, and also that Janna that we see in the bottom lane.
Still a nice draw from BBQ. They have 2 winning lanes in terms of pressure. The Syndra will have all-in ability onto the Azir. And Nara versus GP is one of our most storied matchups in 2018. So Jarvan has a top side to jungle around. They also have a couple of options to pick comp in the mid game into a very strong sieging comp when Ghost hits 2 to 3 items on the Tristana. And you look at Kingzone's side, they would also love to siege with the Caitlyn Janna and the safety that provides. And how it actually goes really does rest on how much free farm the Gangplank can pick up and how frisky BDD is, because he has turned some losing matchups on Azir into winning matchups. Fun drafts overall, but the Caitlyn into the Tristana does seem like the biggest mismatch because Tristana heavily struggles in the early game in that scenario.
Well, it is Prey and Gorilla after all, looking to dominate that lane as much as possible. The Caitlyn's working well for another AD carry that starts with P. Pilot, actually having a lot of luck on that pick. We'll see if Prey can channel a bit of Pilot. Weird to say that, but also Tempt looking to have more luck on the Syndra, going up against the Azir, which he's 0-7 on, which he definitely did not want to pick that one this time around, but he must have a lot of practice on the pick, knows how to play against it, whereas perhaps BDD doesn't know as much about Syndra, or rather Azir versus Syndra.
I'm going to be focused on Trick. I want to see if Trick can go bot lane and get Ghost and Ignar rolling again, because you turn around the expectations, there's a real chance that Tristana gets her items early, and then a lot of problems will go the way of Kingzone. So on paper, Kingzone, DragonX, you always put them in as favorites. BBQ in 9th spot, but because it is that rivalry which is generated by Kingzone being upset by BBQ, there's a little bit extra work to be taken care of by Kingzone to correct the ledger against BBQ.
So it looks like it's taking a little bit long to get into the game. No pause as far as I've heard. Seems like just the loading screen is taking quite a while, so don't get too scared, guys. Should be into this one in no time after all. Everybody's got their headset on, still waiting for the loading screen, I suppose. And looks like we're just about getting there, guys. So hold on to your horses just a bit. Calm them down, feed them a carrot. Looks like we're ready, guys. So the game, we're going to start it up. Game 1, Kingzone versus BBQ. Let's hop into game number 1. That's already started.
So it seems like we had a loading issue, which is why the game was already underway. Sounds like the Observer PC was being a bit off, but don't worry, we got game. We're into minute 50. We didn't miss anything too much, guys. No jungle contests as far as we can tell.
Seems like it started off very normal. Nothing gonna be doing.
You know what we got that's not normal? Trick has gone for Predator Jarvan. That is not one you usually see. The EQ is going to be in the right position because he's going to move so fast that he's going to be able to set it up, and it is a bit more burst on your first entrance, but usually it's Electrocute, which is down the same tree.
Yeah.
The lane gank bot lane is looking pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that burst. I don't know the exact numbers comparing Electrocute versus Predator, but
it's definitely higher on Electrocute.
Of course, yes, but having some amount of burst at least, and it's not just about early game ganks, but also late game. You can charge into the fights and get better positioning for the catalysts, cataclysms rather. I like the idea. It's definitely a new thing. We'll have to see how effective it is later on in the game.
I remain to be convinced, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt. Different thing that I have not seen in solo queue or competitive play. And if it allows him to go for one of these bot lane ganks that got them ahead last time in the same matchup against Kingzone, maybe it'll be a masterstroke. It is information that's not hidden away from the enemy team. There's a minion wave grouped in bot side, and Peanut looking to at least get Scuttle Vision around it. Never want to give over a grouped minion wave if you don't have to, and Caitlyn is a champion to make the enemy bot lane accountable.
Both Scuttle Crabs picked up by Peanut, wants to make sure nobody's getting ganked, and will go ahead and steal that Gromp in the meantime, so having fun with the jungle so far is that.
Beautiful pathing as well, something for every team to incorporate. When you have a heavily winning matchup, double ranged, and the Janna just provide even more lane presence for the Caitlyn, jungle around it. Put a ward down, take the camp around it, be there to head off the Jarvan. And it's correct for Caitlyn to keep pushing up and sieging. They have the damn turret down to 50% at 4 minutes into the game. Obscenely early, as Trick needs to do everything he can, and suddenly Trick has to play bot side. Notice the ward just out of the vision of the control ward.
They see him the whole way coming. I mean, they have the Scuttle Crab as well. Ward to spot him, that's missed by the control ward. Kingzone already off to a good start here, and they're going to see him coming in, so no way this can happen. Peanut also near the bottom side if they needed his help. Of course, he's just farming up a little bit. You can already see the difference in the jungle.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm not a fan right now of the Predator because Trick actually went Skirmish's Saber and didn't buy boots on his first back, so he can't even use Predator this early in the game. He went water walking as well, so it's very much channeling what we see from Olaf, which is the water walking Predator, but he doesn't actually have the ability to use Predator, so what's really the point of visiting bot side? It's kind of strange to me.
It definitely does feel like he went into the game and he's like, Olaf's going to be banned all the time. What could I play that basically is Olaf?
Volibear.
Well, you know, Volibear, he can get interrupted, he can get stopped, right? The Jarvan kind of has that EQ. Speaking of which, EQ going to come in and knock up BDD, who messes up his shuffle, but still gets out alive.
You know, you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'll agree with you. That was a misfire from BDD. Didn't have to use his flash, so be happy about that.
It's almost like he was so surprised they couldn't kill him. He's like, oh, I guess I don't even need to use this.
That was a bit bizarre.
Well, as you mentioned, keeps the flash. He's feeling pretty good. And notice that Tempt has Unsealed Spellbook, so he doesn't have that more aggressive laning rune. So a bit of extra damage may have done the job, but certainly not this time. Speaking of doing the job, looking to get Khan down, forced to burn the flash. Does dodge the boomerang, but already the pressure being put on in the top lane. And a TP coming in from Tempt. They want to get onto this guy. And he's level 6 too. That did 0 damage.
What?
Trying to get onto Khan now. We'll see if they can lock this in. The push forward, one more auto will do it, and the first blood goes over to Crazy. It looks sloppy, but hey, it worked.
The excellence of execution does leave the Rift for a couple of moments there, mid lane, top lane. Oh boy, more happening bot lane, all in, trying to get lane control here for BBQ.
Doesn't end up working there.
The ult onto Sejuani with no spheres around was ill-conceived, and then from there they were able to get the kill anyway because the flash was down from Gangplank.
Yeah.
We have to be very creative with our words to describe the passage of play top lane.
I was wondering if BDD was ready for the matchup, but it seems like Tempt himself needs to prepare for playing the champion himself. So he goes back and switches to TP after this damage gets done top lane.
That's a nice scoop, and this is saying, hey, I'm gonna go top lane. This after the flash had happened. He had the teleport ready to go. The overlay doesn't update, as you can see, so it looks like heal was pressed, but it was teleport. Tempt comes in. One sphere into ult was never going to kill a level 5 Sejuani, but what about a bonus pirate on the back end? Nothing he can do, no flash, no ability to get out. He had already used the orange, he wasn't okay, he was dead.
Yeah. Crazy good with the mechanics there, make sure he gets the last auto attack for the third one for the extra damage, and picks up that kill, so.
They need to find something somewhere, because bot lane is already a bit of a disaster for the side of BBQ. BF sword on first back, he's got his way towards the Berserker Greaves, looking to try to pick up that first turret very, very early. Sejuani no longer wants to go topside.
Well, already off to a bad start. Here is Khan. He has both of his summoners down. It was a good play by BBQ, but I'll have you guys know, I went back and watched the VODs, and in fact, Khan was playing GP in the first game where he had the breathing problem, and he didn't have the best game with GP. I watched the whole thing up against BBQ. I was like, something seems to be wrong, and I hope we don't have a repeat performance of that here in this game.
And it feels like Gangplank has been up and down, but largely on the down ever since his nerf has come through on the most recent patch. Get the confirmation that it's a move speed Jarvan. It's gone for the Relentless Hunter, Water Walking, and also the Celerity, which is obviously very standard in the sorcery. He's all about map impact, so this is very different from Trick than we've seen on any other Jarvan. Trick can definitely be left of center on his jungle choices, but the rune choices also being a bit all over the place is fun to see. Still going to be Cinderhulk, you can tell from the Ruby Crystal in his inventory.
Yeah, still looking to make another impact on the Rift. No doubt he's going to go back by the Bobby Cinder perhaps a little bit more. And yeah, just going to start with that. But looking to make another play with this next Predator proc that he's got available. Already has one successful gank up in the top lane. Khan looks like he's just going to cannon barrage the wave, wants to push that out, has his TP about to get off cooldown, wants to buy some items before he returns to that not very fun lane.
Feels like the Gangplank was replaced with the Scion for people who ult with a global sound that doesn't mean anything in the early game. Not going to be able to use it proactively around the bot lane, which may leave the bot lane turret to stay healthy for longer. That has been the game plan from Kingzone. They chunked out the bot lane turret at 4 minutes, but haven't been able to return to it because they were playing topside, trying to relieve pressure from Khan, who actually brought a Relic Shield on that back. As we were mentioning a couple times, guys, if you're at home playing solo queue, do not pick up the support items, despite the fact that it says they have Bandit, they no longer do, is Predator.
Here we go, but look at that. The tornado comes out of Janna, and Gorilla looks like a genius for that pickup.
Did have to use Flash on the Janna, though, which is not ideal. Summon the spell down does answer the lane gank. Peanut's back, and we know the turret is very, very low. Tempt has gone back to heal, so doesn't have teleport to get over.
Yeah, Peanut sitting on top of a control ward. We're getting another trade up in the top lane. Crazy has been having his way with Khan so far in this one. They're diving down here. First Blood turret goes over to King Zone. They can't quite land that Sejuani ultimate, and so they'll clean up the wave and back off.
One of the reasons why Tristana has been lower priority in Korea is her laning phase. And losing your turret at 10 minutes could have been earlier if not for top lane needs to be defended. What's happening here, of course, gets even worse for Tristana on future patches when her range is dialed in even more in the early game. And Gangplank, for all his struggles in lane, does have AoE wave clear on his ultimate and with his barrels to keep turret up. So the turret stays up longer, and Caitlyn says, I'm going to bail you out, Khan. Don't have to deal with this anymore for now. Lane swap is going to be started by Caitlyn and not spotted out yet, although Tristana leaving her options open by being topside.
King Zone with 3 control wards down towards the bottom lane. Just replace one right there. Gorilla putting his one on top of the Rift Herald. Something you can do if you do get that bottom turret very early is gain some control up in the top side, move your wards up, and eventually try to go for that Rift Herald objective.
Ward line is always about where the play needs to be, as BDD might just take a harassment ult, does not. It's all about, hey, if you know that your team is going to play topside, get the wards down 20 seconds before they crash in lane, and then you can play with Reckless Abandon. They want to push with Caitlyn. They want to control topside. That's the last thing BBQ can allow, because if Kingzone just rotate around the Caitlyn lane into wherever Tristana wants to be, then it's just going to be free turrets the way of Kingzone.
I was waiting on Tempt to pick up an item. Finally goes for the Lost Chapter, probably into Ludens is what I would expect, but it was heavily delayed because he went double Dorans into Merc Treads, and that's part of the reason why he wasn't doing much damage in the lane up against the Azir. Just trying to stay alive and get those early game items.
And we saw this happen before, where we saw a very late tier into a late Archangels. I don't think you can afford to go that way as Syndra. Syndra needs to be able to delete one person, and she lives a little bit longer, but can't chunk someone. Really no point to having the Syndra. So I do believe that you're correct in that the Ludens will be the way you go. Given that a lot of the setup was topside, makes sense to start the Drake, although Peanut's already popped over.
I love how he comes over the wall. He's like, hello, guys. I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm not scared of you. This is going to be my Drake. Although, for now, he's pretty much alone. Finally has the bottom lane joining him in. And they're going for Crazy, trying to get that proc in. Gorilla, though, just running by. They're going to burst him down. And the TP comes in from Ignar now. And after losing their support, Kingzone going to have to give this one up. First Drake goes over to BBQ.
And that was my surprise. They don't have the Caitlyn bot side, and Caitlyn is where most of the gold is in the early game. So they should be losing the 4v4 or the 5v5, especially if Caitlyn is not there. Khan had to use his flash a second time, and they might just dive him anyway.
Oh boy, not having the most fun game. There's the knock up into the Gnar stuns, and down he does go 2-on-1 underneath the turret. He can't escape this time.
Kingstone's just being too greedy where they're weak. They're not playing where they're strong. They're trying to take advantages where they're weak and also play where they're strong. And alone, Caitlyn is not going to take turrets solo, and without the Caitlyn there, they are not as strong as they think they are. So Kingzone making some uncharacteristic mistakes. Something about BBQ makes them as, what?
BDD's trying to outplay Ignar here, who does flash the wall and gets away. Flash in from BDD, and he misses it. The heal coming in. He really wanted that kill, and it's not going to come in.
That was uncharacteristic from BDD. Reminds me of BDD in the semifinal against Samsung when he over-indexed on solo kills on that day. Too aggressive. The heal was there from Tempt. They don't get an advantage, and now both summoners down from BDD for nothing.
I know you wanted to say harsher words, Papa. You took your time, but yes, definitely uncharacteristic. And speaking of which, Trick found in the jungle. Looks like they're going to stop that red buff being taken, and perhaps Peanut will pick it up himself.
The problem for Kingzone is that everyone seems to have their own identity at this point in the game. Everyone has decided, Peanut's decided no free Drakes on my watch. Caitlyn is playing for her lane as she should be. The team is not locking and loading around the Caitlyn. They're all trying to be relentlessly aggressive. This is what we want to see, plays around the Cait.
Yeah, going to be slowly diving into this one. Again, not the cleanest, but they call it off before they fully commit. And so FLICKR and Ghost will be totally fine in the top lane. Had Trick also coming on in with this Predator.
What you do when you have a Caitlyn who's already taken turret at 10 minutes, you move your vision line, you play around the Cait, you take the top lane turret, and a Mountain Drake doesn't really matter. When the Caitlyn is always going to have push priority on a Tristana. 3-item Tristana, maybe the game changes, but ideally you have the game decided before those items are there. The Tristana's already going for Ninja Tabi, so she is significantly behind in any sort of relevant damage in this game. But then BDD's trying to solo kill a support using both his summoners. And really weird stuff from Kingzone, who haven't played since Sunday and are being a bit slow to wake up in this one. Doesn't mean anything in terms of the gold, because Parlay and Klepto is pretty fun onto the Gangplank. But it does mean something in the context of the race. A lot of people have already penciled them in and maybe even inked them in as the first place team, meaning they will skip all the way to the grand final. They show up like this at the grand final, a good team's going to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, you put up a Freak KT up against this KZ, you're looking at a fun time for those two teams. Looking for BDD, who doesn't have that. He's gonna get a double scoop. He wants to make up for that last play. We'll see if he can get something here. Trick makes it out, and BDD gets low. He's gonna trade it 1-for-1 after all of that.
That was so much action around the mid. Great scoop from BDD. Looked like a volleyball when the ultimate came in from the Glacial Prison, but the back end might be more important. Prey walks up, and BBQ needs to reinforce.
Man, I don't know what it is, if it's overconfidence, if he's just feeling really good about it, but BDD, he sees chicken, he goes for the chicken. It doesn't matter what situation. He was close to getting dived there before, I think it was Peanut came in and helped him, and then he was like, let me turn this around.
Look, I learned one thing recently. It's don't always go for the free chicken. If you're on a diet, stay back, be a bit more conservative. But you're right, he's seeing chicken nuggets all over the Rift. They got the alley-oop onto Trick, can't kill him, and then it just ends up being a 1-for-1. He had no summoners up, so going 1-for-1 is fine, but it could have been cleaner by the side of Kingzone.
Certainly, so we've been having some fun early on in this game, although there have only been 5 kills in the 17 minutes. We've had faster games than this, but certainly BDD trying to make things fun for the fans. You were talking about people inking in KZ as the winner of playoffs in the league, but I feel like a lot of fans here are doing the same, right? People showing up, they're like, well, I bought my bus ticket for 11, I'm gonna make it on time, it's Kingzone, we're gonna have an early day. Gotta take a little step back and question that once again.
And no one has been flawless this season. Kingzone definitely the closest. Again, they still have not lost a series that Khan has played the entirety of. But it's always premature, more than 2 weeks before the end of the regular season, to talk about Kingzone as the MSI champions-elect. You understand the hype, you respect the players, you're hyped to see them, but still, the finished article needs to be there. And for now, at least, BBQ are very competitive against Kingzone.
Kingzone got to disengage. Prey, he was totally zoned down in the top lane. And here we go, that big patience bar on the Rift Herald. It's going to be a close one. It's going to come down to it, and Braum, Ignar is going to pick it up. The double stun here now onto Gorilla. Wants to get that ultimate. The ultimate of Janna's going to save him after all.
Yeah, the healing was enough there because of the travel time on the Temp's ultimate.
Meanwhile, Khan farming in the mid lane. Not sure what was going on there. I mean, Crazy and Khan did arrive pretty much at the same time, but either way, that's a nice swing towards BBQ now, who have the Rift Herald to push into some objectives.
See where they want to put it. Ideally where Caitlyn isn't, given that she can answer as Shiv BF Sword Caitlyn. Ready to wave clear aplenty. Long way for Ghost to be anywhere near the power level of the Caitlyn when it comes to trading damage. But BBQ, smart play there. You mentioned the patience bar. Something that people forget with specifically the Rift Herald is that it can releash, it feels like 4 or 5 times before it actually will go back into its original home. Kingzone going back to where they started it with all their pressure bot side. They'd love to get an Infernal Drake, and for now at least, setting up for it.
Drake will be the ward for now, just looking ahead. as Peanut and BDD looking to bait it. But after all, the flag spots all and a ward is put down, and no Infernal Drake will be started just yet. This game a lot closer than we expected. Kingzone only 600 gold ahead. They do have the Caitlyn and the GP scaling up, but Khan, he definitely hasn't had the easiest game so far.
We have had matchups like this in the past. You think of Jinair and SKT this season that defy expectation. You'd think BBQ would be down the bottom, but all we know is that BBQ want to fight.
Crazy is TPing onto them with the Meganar. The ultimate's going to come in, but great zoning once again from BBQ. They're going to secure another Drake and try to disengage here. No more Sejuani ultimate available. They want to get onto someone, but look at this, Syndra. So good at disengaging, and nobody will be picked off.
I mean, Kingzone are learning at the end of all these fights, they have to show respect because their chase potential can be answered by one ability, Unbreakable on Sejuani ult. They're not going to be able to actually re-engage. They don't have re-engage in the comp. So they're about getting positioning on an objective and being trusting of their teamfight power. Their teamfight power at the moment is tenuous. Caitlyn is largely about pushing. The Gangplank has better item breakpoints, and Nashor's Tothazir isn't enough to carry forward. Meanwhile, Tempt is front-loaded burst, and the Gnar is powerful. So they're showing respect, but because they're starting objectives, BBQ's lapping them up and getting those objectives that Kingzone desperately craves.
Well, this game is certainly turning into a good one because the next Drake is going to be Infernal, and if BBQ can repeat the performance that they have put on around these objectives so far, they'll be pretty happy about Syndra and Tristana with double Infernal, but it's a bit away as BBQ, they're looking for more objectives in the meantime. Rift Herald coming into the mid lane. They're going to tip it down as much as possible, and there you go.
3 control wards around Baron as well, so definitely some backup options around Baron as Shelly gets really weirded out by there being another turret here and dies for free. How cruel the world can be. I got caught between analogies there.
Yeah.
Interesting game so far already. Speaking of item builds, Tempt has actually gone tier into a second lost chapter, so he's working on to the 40% CDR. Now, from what I understand, haste will not be given on both because it's the same code name, so it'll be 30% CDR, be 40% with the blue buff, but really craves the shield for a potential all-in later in the game. Doesn't seem like great item efficiency from me, but is what's decided by Tempt.
I'd be curious to know his runes. I don't think we got to look at them, but he could have picked up Transcendence just to help him get that 10% extra cooldown reduction if he wants to go straight into only damage from here. Not going to call it early before I see it, but either way, certainly is an interesting one. He built the tier very late.
Yeah.
Syndra's not a huge spammer. I mean, she's definitely one of the better ones in the mid lane, but not like an Anivia or someone like that, or Ryze. So it's going to stack up a little bit late.
I just feel like the gold efficiency on Archangels and Ludens is one of the reasons why it's so craved, and you lose efficiency as 10% of the CDR is not available. When you think of the all-in, you think of gap close onto Syndra, it's not that kind of comp. It's not Zac and Jarvan and people like that. It is really only the Sejuani. There's a Braum there to answer it. So a bit strange. It's okay in the back line.
Gorilla's just been thrown around this game, but he makes it out this time. Trick knocked over the wall, and down he goes. And Gorilla, finally, they find the kill, but Tempt, he's going to pay for it on the end of it. Crazy, trying to make a name for himself, going 1v2 in the back line. But he's all alone once again. The stun going to come in. The flash trying to make something of it, but it's too much. 1v3, you're not going to pick up that kill. And in the end, Kingzone get out ahead.
And notice that was with Khan unavailable through all of it. They still win the fight. Team fighting is something Kingzone have in droves. They're turning on the Baron.
Prey sticking around. He's so low, but a couple of headshots could certainly do it. Azir really going to be the one. Look at that poke, and the ace in the hole nearly kills him. The flash in. BDD has been so reckless this entire game. I love it, but hasn't really worked out for him. In the end, it is going to be the Baron going down to Kingzone after all the craziness.
What did BBQ say to BDD in solo queue? I have no idea, but he is certainly looking to go super aggressive. The tornado to interrupt Trick was what really stuffed a lot of the engage, and then Trick was free food in the front line. He died first. Notice that Gangplank can't get here. Crazy is late on the Gnar. Comes in, does get the double stun, and chunks out Prey, but he managed to kite him away, and BDD is there fighting with him. So in a 4v5, delayed, they pick up the Baron. And the only thing that BBQ can feel good about is that BDD's summoner was misused at the end.
Well, we have a play set up here from BBQ looking onto Gorilla once again. They're just trying to feast onto this guy. And in the end, it's going to be Trick who gets baited in by himself. Not sure what's going on, but these guys are fighting so much. Peanut now on the front line. We got Colin Flash, the barrels coming on in, doing the damage, and he goes down mid-ultimate. BDD, he doesn't have a flash to use, but no doubt he'd use it if he did.
How does Khan find new mechanics? Flashes for a chain barrel link? Are you kidding me? It works anyway because of the burst it does to the front line, and they're going to rampage through. They understand that Baron this early means turrets, turrets, turrets.
You see this in traditional sports where players say stuff online or they have rivalries and it gets a bit dirty, nasty, but it's Trick diving into the back line to kill the Janna over and over and over, and BDD trying his best to kill Ignar and other members of BBQ. It's getting real feisty on the Rift. Even though we've only had 11 kills, it's just so much action. And you talked about BDD. What did they do to him? This was actually the series where he had that Orianna. You were talking about it before, where he whiffed multiple ultimates.
He holds a grudge, apparently. I thought that was only his problem, but you're right. We're going to see the replay. This time the Tornado doesn't work, so you think Gorilla will die instantly. BDD is always on point with his ults, ulting Trick into damage, not the safety of his own team. They continue to chase. This was looking like it'd be over because they don't have a lot of chase. First barrel into second, and then flash for the chain link to get onto Ignar and Crazy. That was something from the Gangplank we don't see all so often. The reason why they desperately wanted that was chunking out everyone, meant all the turrets in the mid lane and the inhibitor in one play. They had 3 turrets, they get the inhibitor, and now suddenly Kingzone in full control.
Just like that, 7,000 gold ahead. Didn't take much time. See this a lot on 8.4. The game just totally flips on its head. Kingzone definitely loving the action themselves so far. They pick up their own Infernal Drake. And I'm curious to see where they go from here. It's just non-stop. Looks like they're heading up towards the top lane as there's no real other objective to pick up so far.
Kingzone was supposed to be buffed on patch 8.4 because they are a decisive early game team. And while they were well held in the first 20 minutes by BBQ, that's what you see. The power of Baron, the amount of turrets you can crash, even without a banner of command. It's very clear to see. BDD's gone Oblivion Orb into the early Morella Nomicon. Remember, it no longer has a 40% threshold. Every Sand Soldier auto applies 3 seconds of Grievous Wounds. That means that healing is effectively useless in extended team fight.
Very true. Will definitely be hurting Ghost just a bit, but the push continues even without the Baron buff. And they're trying to go on to Khan here, looking for that 1v2. It's not going to be easy for them to take him out. And look at that shield coming out. Khan going 1v2, looking for the 1v3. As the rest of them, they just want to kill anyone on Kingzone, but it is not working out.
We're reaching that point with Gangplank. Bring more bad guys. 2's not enough. Kingzone looking for the close.
Might be a quick one as Kingzone thinking about the official end, but looking to take it safer as they go for that bottom tier 3 turret. Going for that inhibitor one, and BBQ looking for whatever play they can get. But look at the crits! Unbelievable. Khan is saying, get the hell out of my game. And, well, that's going to be the 3rd inhibitor going down as Kingzone, they are thirsty.
They are just so aggressive here, more aggressive than they should be. There's extra aggression. Something's definitely going on behind the scenes,
Something
it feels
happened,
like.
Man, I think it had to have. I don't know what it is, but here we go again. As Tempt getting low, this time it's BDD versus Tempt for the hockey fight one-on-one. And you can see that Static Sieve is helping clear the waves, but they're diving. They don't care. Ignar getting low. They're going to take out 1 turret. The rest of Kingzone finally on the retreat, but Trick, he wants to make it interesting, misses everything on the back foot, but finally Ghost strong enough to push them away And at the end of it all, 11,000 gold ahead for Kingzone. They've been having fun so far with their chicken.
Man, it's been a breathless 20 to 30 minutes, the most action you could ever want. He doesn't have his back interrupted. He gets back there. Everyone had over 1,300 gold to spend. The item lead is going to decide the game. BBQ will wonder how it went so wrong so quickly. The play around mid lane flashing in was the big story. Khan is level 16 and was free farmed this game. They thought they could all in him, but Steric's gauge is going to be a no. And just like when we saw Camille jump onto a Talia on 0 health, you knew that the turnaround was real for Khan.
That it was just too farmed up. He started the game at 0-2-0. It just did not matter. Kingzone got way too far ahead. Certainly the Infernal going to help out with some of that damage on the backside. And at this point, I'm just waiting for the game to end to see if Kingzone has any celebrations in mind, because generally when you're trying to pick this many fights, something happens, somebody said something, and generally that baits out some celebrations. Would love to see some. You don't get them too often here in Korea, but that'll be a nice breath of fresh air.
Who knows, maybe the coaches gave their own, hey, you finished before 11 p.m., we've got a bonus for you thing going on here. I'd love to see BD drift into the fountain to look for another Azir sec play. They're looking for the close, though. Any picks, the game will end. In fact, honestly, the game may end, whatever happens.
Better command is going to be enough, but they finally find BDD in the front. He stopwatches in their face, says no. Trick has got to answer to that. There it is, the flash. He gets 2 in the backside. Even though he goes down, he's looking to win this game for his team. 3 members of BBQ going to go down. They're not even trying to end the game. They want to get more kills. They're flashing in. They get a triple now.
They're going for it.
They want the quadra. They don't want to end it. And finally, the minions tell them to get out of the game. They're tired. But in 31 minutes, Kingzone finally win. This is what it feels like with all of that action.
And Kingzone have this really rare quality as a team to basically make every game feel like an exhibition match by the end. By the end, it felt like they were just playing with their food. There was an Aegis on Caitlyn for some reason. Why? Only Prey will know. Looking for the dive onto the fountain, because why not? Khan is the only top laner they will field. What a scary thought that you won't get the chance to face Rascal. You have to face Khan every time.
Yep.
BBQ Olivers, they won last time, and apparently Kingzone DragonX really want that revenge.
Rascal single-handedly buffing his team up. It's the scariest team in the world currently, and BBQ look helpless towards the end. They had a good early game. They definitely were going toe-to-toe. They were getting all the objectives, and they were dunking Khan over and over, but once Kingzone got angry, something happened in the game, and they just turned it on, this new level, this new tier. As you mentioned, certainly did feel like we were casting an exhibition game with how aggressive they were going. But either way, guys, we're going to take a break before we get to game 2.
안녕하세요. VD를 맡은 쿠로입니다. 아프리카 프릭스의 셀프캠을 시작하겠습니다. 저희 팀의 대회 퇴근길입니다. 저기 코치님 2분 빠이. 코치님은 연습실로 가고 저희는 숙소로 가서 씻고 쉴 예정입니다. 숙소랑 연습실이 분리돼 있어요. 아저씨 좀 찔리나 본데. 아저씨 여기 봐봐요. 찔렸어요? 찔리는 아저씨 좀 많은데 여기? 우리 뭐 시켜 먹어? 뭐 먹으려고?
나가서 먹기 너무 춥던데? 좀 너무 춥던데?
배고프긴 한데
네, 협조하라고.
그래 버스 탔으면 또 버스나 타.
수비 내라고.
이러면 절대 싫어.
너가 찍을래?
잘 찍을래.
너가 찍어.
아우! 이런 거 처음 만져봐. 아우, 야! 아, 뭐야.
그냥 말씀 좀 하세요.
다 시켜 형이 쏠 테니까.
가! 카메라 앞이라고 행카 쓰기.
내가 쏠 테니까 다 시켜.
법카다 법카.
자 여기는 종이기와 종훈이의 바텀 듀오 방. 자 여기 옷방까지.
아, 근데 팬 거기 조심해야 돼. 빤스 있어.
빤스 있어? 아 괜찮아.
빤스 있어.
자 이제 맞은편 방.
따라따라따.
보시면은 여기
따라따라따.
여기는 원래 다윤이랑 제가 쓸 예정이었는데 갑자기 제가 마린용이랑 같이 썼었어서 저쪽 방에 이제 여긴 제아랑 쓰다가 제아가 2층 침대로 도망갔어요.
빨리 나가.
여긴
내가 안
커요.
보여줄 거야.
자 그리고 여기 화장실.
나 문 안 잠기는 화장실.
문이 안 잠겨서 가끔 가다가
쌍사가 일어나.
가끔 가다가 이상한 거 봐요 저희. 여기 그리고 저희 이 팀 친구들 새 나라의 그 새싹들이 여기서 자고 생활합니다. 자 여기 이제 제 룸메이트죠.
아, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요 기인 선수.
빨리 뭐 먹을래?
자 여기가 기인 선수랑 제가 쓰는 방이에요. 여기 맨 오른쪽 코치님이고. 자 여기 화장대까지. 여기가 바로 넘버 원이 쓰는 방입니다. 보이시죠? 아 춥다. 지금은 대날 다음날 출근길입니다.
개인은 숨이 맞은데.
앞에 이재하 씨 여기 좀 봐주세요.
왜요?
자기 소개 좀 부탁드려요.
모르는 사람입니다. 말 걸지 마세요.
뭐 하는 거예요? 안녕하세요. 자기 소개 좀 부탁드려요.
저는 젤리입니다.
서포터인가요?
맞아요.
이름과 나이는 어떻게 돼요?
이름은 손호경이고요.
네.
나이는 비밀입니다.
오케이 나이는 비밀인 걸로. 아침마다 씻고 가는 사람이 없어서 몰골들입니다 전부 다. 안 씻은 몰골. 자 들어서면은 아주 멋있게 있습니다 저희 팀 로고가. 그 다음 여기가 우리 새내기 애기들의 방이고 1팀의 연습실입니다. 여기 피드백하는 TV도 있고 코치님 자리. 자 저희 팀의 회의실입니다. 여기 깜짝 놀랄 만한 욕조가 있어요. 짠. 이게 생각보다 안 커 보이는데 사진으로 봐서 저기서 목욕 한 2번 했습니다.